I am not worthy. I am not
Oh,
worthy.
stop it. Stop it. How dare you?
Oh, what a terrific day. We have the great Andrew Tischler coming to us live at 4 o'clock in the morning, getting up for us. Where are you? You're in what town?
I live in ŵterbh, New Zealand now. Wanaka. Good morning, Eric. Good to see you.
Isn't that where the bee caves are?
The what caves?
Well, in Wanaka, I think they have the glowing bee caves where you go into the caves and the bees glow.
Oh, the glowworms? Yeah, they've got. Yeah, I think that's mainly up north in a place called 𝗬𝗏. But I think they're found. I think they're found around New Zealand. Yeah, they're pretty. It's pretty bizarre. It's like you're in the cave and you see stars. It's kind of neat. Yeah.
So we're going to be in stars today. We're going to get a chance to see you perform. Andrew is a world famous artist and is going to be teaching us what today?
Well, today, again, it's a little bit of a challenge thinking about what we could talk about in 45 minutes because my paintings can sometimes take up to 400 hours. So it's gonna be fun. But today, yeah, I'm going to talk about some transparent oil color and some techniques with painting water, and just have some fun on the canvas. I was preparing last night just with one layer of paint. And forgive me, I'm going to be a little bit slow on the draw here today because it is like 4 in the morning. So how well can you paint at 4 in the morning, Eric?
I can paint well, as well as I paint at 4 in the morning or at 4 in the afternoon because I don't paint well.
Okay. Well, so here I've got a start. I'm going to call it an okay start. And what we're going to do is actually just start, working on this a little bit. I was trying to think of some neat techniques that I could show today, but I also wouldn't mind doing a little something over here as well to discuss some of the linear aspects of what we have here. So,
well, I'm really curious about how to get those rocks, that transparency under the water, and this is going to be a really great lesson. Let's get the show officially started.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
Well, today's a red letter day because we have the great Andrew Tischler with us. Andrew is a brilliant painter. Let's look at some of his work now. He is a world-renowned artist and incredibly prolific. He does these stunning paintings. And of course, Andrew does a lot of tutorials online and has become very famous for that. So we're very excited to have him today. And Andrew, we're going to do transparency in water and some other water things to learn a little bit about some of your techniques. So this is really exciting.
Awesome. Oh, well, thanks, Eric. And thank you again for the glowing introduction there. I really appreciate it. I don't deserve it, but I really appreciate it. Okay, let's jump straight in. And so first, before we start talking about what's happening here on the canvas, and you're gonna have to forgive me, folks, because I normally have multicam set up, but I've only got 2 for today with this program that we're running here. So I'm still getting my head around it. But normally I got the multicam set up. But this scene in particular, what you're looking at here, let's zoom in. Let's get you a good look at that. So this scene here is a little spot of water that I've been looking at for years and years and years in my reference files. And it's just a spot in the Kimberley, in the far north of Western Australia. I spent many years there. And what I loved about this was the transparency. And I've been trying to figure out water like a puzzle. It's a really elaborate puzzle in oil paint, trying to crack the code almost. I've been trying to figure this out for a long, long time. I think I'm getting close, but I'll be the first to admit that I'm still working on this technique. And so there's actually quite a few things that are already going on here with just one layer of paint. And so what I'd love to do for you today is just sharpen this up a little bit and talk you through some of those things that I think about when painting water. But whenever I'm teaching, I like to break this down into into pieces, into manageable chunks in my mind that I can kind of conceptualize. What is it that I'm seeing here? Water is one of those things that's quite tricky because you've got so many different things that you're thinking about at the same time. Like one thing's happening on top of another, on top of another. So it can be a bit of a trick. And so what I like to think about is, okay, if we were to simplify this, what is that initial leaping off point? What's that initial thing that would just get me started? And that's one thing I want to demonstrate over on this side. So I'll do that for you shortly. But I like to break water down into about 5 main components, and I paint it generally in about 3 passes. The technique, though, that I'm working on, recently has been trying to do it all in 1 layer, which is a little bit of a trick, kind of Sargent-esque, but I mean, only Sargent can paint like Sargent, right? But when we're looking at this, the first thing is that linear aspect, the drawing that is underlying this. What is that water doing in terms of its linear aspect? So I take all that water away, because most of the time when we're thinking about this, we're thinking, okay, it's water, it's reflective, it's moving. And so we start off by thinking about those intricacies of reflection, of refraction, and all of that nuance with color and everything going on. What I like to do is just drain that water away and go, okay, what's the underside of that body of water? What's the floor that water is over? What does that actually look like? And so that first component there, the linear aspect, is really important. And then you start layering up from there. So without getting too complicated, what I want to do is over on this side, start drawing the initial linear aspect. So our drawing underneath our painting of a different scene, and talk to you about some of what's going on here. Because this underlying drawing is our first step towards getting this to look a little something like water. There's no real difference between the substance of what's happening here, but why would that look like it's underwater, and everything that is up here with the rocks doesn't look like it's underwater? It looks like it's outside of the water. Well, it comes down to how we make those marks, how those marks are elongated, flattened. Now, this is a consideration of refraction, but again, I just want to drain that water away, think about what's underneath, analyze that, and recreate that. So let me switch over to my palette, because the colors are actually going to be kind of important for today. And I'm going to be throwing a lot of concepts your way. So I hope this all makes sense. Again, trying to cram it into 45 minutes is fun. So here's my palette. This is upside down for me, but I hope you can see what's going on. I arrange my palette in chromatic order. And so my order stays the same no matter what. The colors might change, but that chromatic order remains the same. And it's like the color wheel. I mean, this is the color wheel unfurled here. And so we're going through our yellows to our oranges to reds to violets to blues to green. I've got a collection of whites here, and I got my earth tones over here. And so I'll go through that quickly. I've got liquid original in this little bottle right here, and liquid impasto. Whenever I'm starting a painting, I use that a little bit, but I'm mainly using that liquid original at a ratio of 3 parts paint to 1 part medium. I've got burnt umber, transparent red oxide, transparent yellow oxide. And so those 3 are actually now taking care of the vast majority of my earth tones. I used to use burnt sienna, raw sienna, yellow ochre, raw umber, but I found that between the burnt umber and the oxides, the transparent oxides, does a pretty good job. Got titanium white, Flemish white, and Cremnitz white. Now, why the heck would you want 3 whites? Well, today, when it comes to creating transparency, we're actually going to want different qualities in our white, because each of these whites has a slightly different opacity or transparency. Cremnitz white, being a lead-based white, pure lead carbonate, this is a really transparent white. Flemish white is somewhere between the two, about 50-50. It's got a bit of titanium in there and lead white. Excuse me. Oh, you'll have to forgive me too, Eric. I've still got a little bit of a cough hanging on. So if I'm going to have a coughing fit, I'll mute my microphone to save everybody's eardrums. I've got some nickel yellow deep, cadmium lemon, 𝗂𝗄𝗃 yellow right here. Now the 𝗂𝗄𝗃 is beautiful and transparent. Those three yellows though, the nickel yellow deep, and cadmium lemon are all very opaque, but the 𝗂𝗄𝗃 yellow is nice and transparent. We've got some Indian yellow, cadmium red light, permanent crimson, quinacridone magenta, ultramarine blue, cobalt teal, phthalo blue, phthalo green, and a special color that you can't get. I'm sorry, you don't have access, but I got to shout out my buddy here. It's not a brand, but this is my buddy, Scott in Alaska, who has sent me his very own lead white that he's made. And it's quite a process making your own lead white. I don't recommend it, but Scott is all set up for that. He knows what he's doing. So I'm going to get a little bit of that out there because I just love using this stuff. It's so stringy. It's like mozzarella cheese. It's beautiful. It's also very transparent. So that's the colors that I'm using. Do you need all these colors? Absolutely not. In fact, it's probably too much color. But at the moment, while I'm working on little studies like what you see here, I actually have a little more color out than I need. All right. Before we start painting, I'll just break this down. I'm going to give you the spoiler right now. So when I think about water, I'm thinking about 5 considerations, and I'm painting it in 3 major passes. What are the considerations of water? Well, first, I think about the topography. So drain that water away. What's lying at the base of this rocky pool? You know, when we look at it, you can see clearly the rocks. Okay, cool. So after we see those rocks, we can see that dappled light. That's what I'm thinking about when I'm painting that initial layer. Cool. Put the water back in. Now, when I put the water back in, I imagine in my mind's eye, I pick up a glass, I pick up that water, I turn that glass in the sun, and I try and think, okay, can I see a color to that water? What is the actual quality of that water? Can I see through it? Is it transparent? Is it slightly murky? Has it got tannins that have leached into it? Maybe some glacial runoff. Maybe it's, you know, a little bit of a blue tinge. Maybe it's crystal clear. So this is something that you're going to need to consider. Then the body of water itself, depending on that thickness, that depth of water, it's going to bend light in a different way than light travels through air. It travels through water at a different refractive index. And so refraction is going to be a consideration. Now that's 3 considerations before I've even thought about reflection. Reflection is actually the 4th thing that I think about. And so you can obviously see a little bit of a reflection of sky coming through here. And then finally, surface detail. This is where you have solid bodies that are entering our body of water here. And you might get a little upturn of light, a little lip around solid objects. This is called meniscus. You'll see that. And that's a beautiful way to finish off any kind of watery scene. So those 5 things I paint in 3 passes. I take care of 1, 2, and 3 on the first pass. Then I take care of reflection. Then I take care of any surface detail. And that will get you some pretty crystal clear looking water. I'm going to go ahead and start drawing up over on this one here. And I'm going to see if I get you a better angle here.
What is your surface there, Andrew?
Great question. The surface is a fine weave Italian linen. It's made by, well, you don't want me to mention brand names, but can I mention the brand?
Well, kind of already go for it.
Sorry, dude. 𝗏𝗶𝗁𝗏, because everybody asks me. I use 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but there's so many different ones there. Not a sponsor. They don't sponsor me, but I just like to tell people what I use. But it's a fine weave linen. It is obviously, you can see the strips of masking tape here. So it's just taped to a solid piece of MDF board. I will not consider that MDF as final archival. I will take this off because it's not glued down, and I'll mount this. If these studies and demos turn out, I'll mount them up and frame them. But it's a really convenient way of working, especially for teaching demo pieces. And I got lots of this offcut from the construction site that I've been part of recently with the new studio build. Yeah, throw questions my way. I love questions too, Eric. I kind of get a little more nervous the quieter it goes, you know?
All right. All right.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot of people watching today from all over the world. So
Wow, now I'm nervous. Brilliant. So what I'll do is I'll go over here to bear with me while I fumble with the tech. It's just me flying solo here at 4 in the morning, folks. So I'm going to just stabilize this camera here 1 second, please, and we'll get the show on the road.
okay, while you're stabilizing that camera, let me just tell you guys, we got a free gift for everybody. Let's pull it up right now. It's called 201 Essential Plein Air Tips. If you want to learn about landscape painting or plein air painting, there's a lot of great tips in there. It's free. Just go to pleinairmagazine.com/ebook. All right, back to Andrew.
Nice. What I'd like to do first is just demonstrate, because when we're dealing with those first 3 considerations, the linear aspect is so important. Now, I do have another reference. I'm not sure. Are you able to pull up references on your end, Eric, by any chance?
If you sent it to us, we are, yes.
Mm-hmm. I
All
did.
right.
Yeah, I sent that to the to your producer before.
There it is. Okay.
Yes, excellent. Okay, so when we're looking at this image, the first consideration, this linear aspect, I'm actually just taking out all of the reflection in my mind. So I'm applying my mental Photoshop here, remove all that reflection. Don't worry about it right now, but think about this in terms of a process and painting layer upon layer upon layer. And one thing about using liquid original is it dries pretty much the next day. More or less a surface dry within a couple of days. And so this makes your ability to layer pretty good, pretty convenient stuff. So I'm going to start sketching in this scene, and I'm going to mute my microphone. Hang on 1 second. Forgive me. I'm still on the tail end of this cough here, Eric. So I'm going to do my best to power through.
All right. Thank you.
But essentially, the initial drawing, this is our first step. Now, I love to draw with a brush. I got a lot of students who always ask me, like, "Hey, why don't you draw with a piece of charcoal or a pencil, or be a little more careful with your initial underline drawing?" I'm like, well, that's kind of cool, but there's something really nice about drawing with a brush. I think it actually makes you a better drawer, better draftsperson, by just throwing in there with the brush and just getting into it. There's something a lot more freeing about it, but the more you practice and just throw yourself in the deep end like this, no pun intended, you actually end up creating something a little more painterly. Now, that's a bit rich coming from somebody like me, because I do love some detail. I'm not sure if you could call me a painterly painter, but
well, I would imagine if you looked up close, it probably is still very painterly.
Yes. Yeah, and you know what? That's one of the things that I love about painting, is the magic that happens when your painting completely dissolves when you look up close. There's nothing there. It's one of the things I absolutely love about old masters paintings as well. It's where the magic happens. You step back though, and it looks kind of real. It's neat. Yeah. So one thing that drew me to this was not only the gradient, that subtle gradation from the gray all the way to this beautiful sky reflection. I also liked that it didn't have any direct light in it. It was just a gray day, but it was a beautiful transition from a completely opaque reflection up in this zone of the painting, and just this gradual fall off where we could see this, what was happening in the immediate foreground. But I really did love this interesting log that stuck out of the surface of the water here like a hand. I thought, wow, that is really neat. This little scene that I'm just sketching in now was something that I would paddle past on my kayak when I lived out here in the Marlborough Sounds in New Zealand a couple of years ago. And I just loved it. And again, a bit of reference I've been sitting on for a couple of years. But I'm teaching a course right now on how to paint water, moving, reflective, clear, different forms of water. And so I'm like, you know what? Better get that reference out. And so the first consideration that I have when I'm painting anything is my linear aspects of the painting, line and shape. So this is the initial drawing. And then I have a bit of a checklist that I go through, things that I consider, because at the end of the day, when I'm painting realism, and one of the things that drives me is that illusion of reality, three-dimensional reality, three-dimensional space, form, depth, light, and material, getting a real convincing sense of that realism. If I'm going to achieve that and recreate an experience for my viewer, then I'm going to have to juggle only a few things as well as I can. So the first aspect that I'm going to have to juggle is that line and shape, so my linear aspect. Then I've got tone. So when I say tone, I mean value. Most people say value. For some reason, I've just always said tone, but that's interchangeable. Then our next consideration is color. And then finally, edge. So I've got line and shape, tone, color, and edge. If I do a really good job with those, then I'll create something that has a convincing sense of form, depth, light, and material. So you can see how the first four flow into the second four. So it's a bit of a checklist. Now, initially with my line and shape, I'm looking at my reference. I'm trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I'm seeing here? And the thing I love about water, and this is the first step actually in creating our water effect, is our linear aspect. So I've defined the surface of the water with this edge of our log right here. So that's giving me a sense of perspective. The other thing that's defining the surface of the water, which is my initial line that you saw me draw up here, is my horizon line. So it's just a gentle slope there to that log. It's more or less sitting across that surface like so. There's a bit of parallax distortion, but I'm going to go ahead and paint that in because I'm treating this just as an exercise. Normally, I don't just make a copy from a photo, but for this demo to discuss some of these concepts, I thought, well, this actually, as far as photos go, this one's kind of neat. I think we're just going to go ahead and work with it. So what I'm noticing is when we look at our rocks, all of our rocks that are sitting outside the surface of the water, just like in our painting over here on the left, we can see the fullness of those forms, those angles. They're nice and round. In some places, they've got these high verticals on them. But as soon as they're in that body of water, particularly when we're looking across the surface, you notice how they're elongated. I mean, look at this series of shapes here. Well, in my reference material, and here I've got it on my iPad that I'm referring to it over here, but I'll just hold that up for a second. In my reference, I'm noticing that in the immediate foreground, the shapes are very open. Some of these ellipses down here are very open, but as we move up, they get flatter and flatter and flatter. That's going to help us define this quality of water so much. Now, to sketch this in, I'm using a synthetic round. I've got a Shiraz number 2, and I'm also using a combination of burnt umber and permanent crimson. This is something that's going to really mix beautifully with my other colors. So I'm thinking here of just creating a couple of bands of shapes. So down here, we're going to have something that's pretty open, as I said. And I'm not precious with my drawing at all. I mean, initially, it's just a guide to know, okay, where am I going to put in those initial big strokes of color? Go on, Eric. Throw me another question if we got some questions. I'd love a question to chew on while I draw in some of these rocks here.
Absolutely. If you guys have got questions, make sure to put them in there. There is one in here. I got to find it.
Brilliant.
All right, you guys.
And I'll take this opportunity to get a quick sip of coffee.
How and to what material do you mount the finished canvas painting? Are you going to take that and stretch it?
Well, I wouldn't be stretching this. I don't have enough material on the edge, so I'd probably glue it to a board. My favorite is to use like a hardwood or like a panel of sorts, probably reinforced on the back. Although this size, this is roughly about, I guess, 11 by 14, nearly a little over an A4 sheet. So yeah, I would mount this one to a board, and I'd probably look. It's not the most archival, but I would use PVA glue when mounting that, and I've done that for like all my plein air panels, and it serves me pretty well. You can get acid-free PVA if you want to spring for it, so it's probably a good idea to use something acid-free. And that's what I'd use. I would avoid things like MDF to adhere to. It's fine to just use as a stabilized, rigid board behind your painting. For something like this, if it's just loose linen, and that's all I'm using the MDF for at the moment. It is not permanently.
It could crumble over 50 years or 100 years.
That's right. And it's very prone to absorbing moisture directly out of the air. So I think you get the idea. From here, as I move down, I've got a series of elongated shapes. As I move down, I just open those shapes up more and more and more. And so essentially, if I was to draw this as an ellipse, we'd have something open to about that degree. As we drop it down, that's going to get to be a more open shape and relatively bigger. These shapes are going to become slightly larger as we come forward, working with perspective, right? And then they're going to get more horizontal and even. Now that might look like a complete mess, but my initial drawings, this is just a guide for me to then quickly go in and fill in some paint. It's exactly how this one started. And so far, yeah, go for it.
Question from Mayona. I just finished a beach painting where I noticed the shadows of people on the sand were all horizontal, but the reflections of the people wading in the water were horizontal. I wonder if she means vertical. Is it always that way?
Okay, this is a really great question. And in fact, in this situation right here, we have shadows and we have reflections. Now, when we're dealing with light, this is an aspect that I consider when I'm thinking about topography, which is my first consideration, remember. So drain that water away and consider your light shining into the water separate to the reflection. Shadows are not reflections. So think about it here. If you look at this highlight on this rock, for instance, you'll notice how the highlight actually continues down into the water. But the reflections are independent of this dappled light going in here. The shadows and dappled light appear differently underneath that reflection, but there's still two things that are happening simultaneously. So your reflections are going to be carried down through your water generally vertically, and then the shadows are going to occur in correspondence to your light. So here we've got a light dynamic that is high and to the left, slightly backlit on some of these forms. That's justifying this big shadowed rock right here and a few of these highlights. You can get an idea of the kind of gradient or angle of that light, right? As it skims across that rock and it enters this scene. So it's just something that you want to consider, separate to your you consider reflections separate to shadows, because you can, I can tell that it can be quite a confusing thing. But if you try in your mind's eye to just get those two things away from one another, so consider that light first, shine that down into the body of the water, and then put your water back over the top. But remember, when you're painting that in 3 passes, topography, refraction, and then your topography, the color of the water, and the refraction, that's your first pass, right? So as long as you've got that in place, then laying your reflection over the top, you're fine. Did I just confuse you, Eric?
Yeah, you did, but that's okay. Hey, Andrew, we're at about a little about the halfway point. So I'm going to
Okay,
take
let's
a
get some more.
break. You get a drink of water, and then we're
Okay.
going to resume. Big announcement, if you guys are not aware of it. Andrew is going to be doing the plein air convention for the first time. The plein air convention is taking place in the Ozarks this year. So it's kind of the middle of the country, easy to get to from a lot of places. And Andrew's doing a pre-convention workshop prior to the convention. The morning the convention begins, a full day workshop. And then he's also going to be on stage at the plein air convention. I am already told that we're at like 75% of our hotel rooms are already gone. The Ozarks, unfortunately, we have fewer seats at the convention than we did last year because of the facility. As a result, it's going to be selling out a lot quicker. So make sure you get your seats to the plein air convention and to Andrew's pre-convention workshop. That's pretty cool. pleinairconvention.com. Also want to mention to you guys, we have an event coming up in August, and it's called 𝗧𝗿 Live. It's a one-day event. It's very inexpensive to attend, and it's a full day of some of the top instructors, and ending the day with the great Scott Christensen doing gouache. And gouache is hot. People are traveling with gouache. People are using it when they don't want to deal with mediums or solvents. And it's, of course, been a popular illustrator's medium for a long time. If you don't know, gouache is kind of like opaque watercolor. And so everybody's attending. The watercolorists are attending. The oil people are attending. Even a lot of the pastel people, because it kind of looks even like pastel because it's got that flatness to it. 𝗧𝗿 Live is on August 23rd. And full lineup, go see it at gouache, if you can spell it, 𝗬𝗠𝗄𝐴CHE live.com. Also want to mention that I've got an event coming up. I did it in January, and I wished I had done it sooner because it was Art Business Mastery. And the whole idea is to help you learn how to sell paintings and how to manage your art business. I have a lot of different people I had on. I'm going to have entirely new guests this year. It's going to be taking place in November, so you can plan your year. But at Art Business Mastery Day, one day, and again, it's very inexpensive to attend, November 15th. We think this one's going to be probably, we had like 5,000 people last year. I think it's going to be much, much bigger. We've had people who attended who've told us that they've just crushed it in terms of their sales for the year. So that's really cool. One last thing I want to tell you guys before we get back to Andrew, and that is I do these annual retreats. A lot of you, if you're new, I am the publisher of Plein Air Magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur Magazine. We do multiple retreats for artists. We do online conferences. We do events. We have hundreds, over 700 art instruction courses on painttube.tv. And we, of course, are doing a retreat in the fall for Fall Color. It's called Fall Color Week. We don't have a lot of seats left to that, but it's a week of painting. We paint together. I love getting to know you guys. This is how I learn about artists that we oftentimes feature. And I make a lot of great friends. It's Fall Color Week. I do this pretty much by myself. And we just paint for a week, put our paintings out at the end of every day, and we just sit around and sing and dance and play, and we do portraits at night. It's a lot of fun. It's like adult summer camp, except it's fall summer camp, if that makes sense. Fall Color Week is September 28th through October 5th. I would imagine there's not, I don't know, maybe 20 seats, something like that left. So you should go. Door County is absolutely beautiful, and we're going to be there when the fall hits. It's going to be spectacular. Okay, now we're going back to Andrew Tischler. We're very excited about Andrew being our guest. Andrew, take it away.
Cool. While during those, oh, by the way, and shout out Eric, because Art Business Mastery was awesome. I was joining you guys for that. Just the last one that you had. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, I just want to shout you out there and say that is an event definitely well worth attending.
Do you want to
very helpful
this year?
Yeah. Do I want to what? Sorry.
Do you want to teach?
Absolutely. Are you kidding?
Right. Consider it.
Yeah. I'm in.
All
I'm
right.
in. Thank you, sir. So, before I get into my reflection, I need to know kind of what am I reflecting here? So I'm picking up just, I'm going to describe what I'm doing here on my palette because you can't see my palette cam right now. But I'm mixing. No, you know what? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to lean over. I'm going to switch over my cameras here. And I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you. Here we go. Here we go. We'll go over to the palette here. I'm picking up a collection of greens. I've got some Hansa. I've got some nickel yellow deep, some nickel yellow light, some whites, and I'm just mixing up some nice leafy greens of a bit of light that's shining up into the top reaches of my composition here because I want to drag a little bit of this reflection down through. And so just a couple of flecks. Now again, my paintings, it sounds like I'm making excuses. I swear I'm not, but my paintings take a long, long time. So thinking of something that we can do quickly and I could show you a little something, teach you a little something, is a bit of a challenge. But we'll get a little something done here. But this, I'm going to consider this an indication to me for later. Hey, let's come back and add some more details up here. Now, it doesn't mean it's going to be detailed throughout or photorealistic or hyper-realistic throughout. You've got to have moments of rest in your painting. You don't want to have too much going on everywhere. It's difficult to look at. But just in the right places, a little bit of detailed leaf work, some branches, some twigs. But essentially up here in the top reaches, through that dappled light, we're going to highlight some of the greens of the grasses that are growing either side of what's going to be a little waterfall right there. Maybe we get a little bit of that in there today. And so that's going to provide the context for what we're about to reflect. Now, I've actually done something that has given me a head start on getting this water together. This is all one layer of paint. I haven't actually applied that reflection in post. I was looking at my reference material and I was like, okay, well, I can see very clearly in that reference, there's this beautiful reflection of sky. And look at this fall off as we come forward. As you're looking across the surface of the water, the reflection becomes stronger and stronger. It's getting harder to see through that. So any of the details that are occurring underneath, this is going to start to completely disappear and dissolve. But as we come down, you can start to see through that reflection. It's getting weaker and weaker and weaker as we come and look at our feet through the surface of that water. So if I can mimic this with oil paint, then hopefully I can create a little bit of an illusion that that's going on. Now, of my first four considerations that we were talking about before, line and shape, tone, color, and edge. Edge is now going to be pretty important. I'm going to zoom in here and we're going to start working on some of that reflection in this zone. And I want something that's going to give me some sharpness for sure, some transparency, but something that I'm going to be able to just get a few of these reflections up here, but in a sharp, horizontal, linear manner as we bring these reflections across. So for this, I'm going to be using what is this? A 3/8 of an inch. This is an Eclipse comber, but it's a little short, flat synthetic brush. It's got some really nice soft ends to those bristles, but it's going to hold its shape. If you look at it edge on, it almost looks like a pointed round, doesn't it? But one of these brushes is absolutely dynamite for working across here with our reflection. So now we need some transparency as well. So as I go to my palette, I'm going to mix in there some lead white. Titanium is not suited for this because it's so opaque. You can't see through it. So lead white, I've got my Cremnitz white. I also have, I'm going to call this Scott white because of my buddy Scott over there in Alaska, you see. Made me that beautiful, beautiful lead white paint. I wish you could get your hands on this, but again, I apologize. You're not going to be able to. It's just so good. But you can get a lot of brands still make a decent lead white. I do highly recommend it just for its transparency. So
We have
this
a question for you, and that is from
Please.
Laurie Woodward. And the question is the paint dry before you add the reflections on the left of the painting?
I hope so. I hope so, Lori. So, Lori, shout out to Lori. She's one of my OGs. So yes, you do have. I do like a nice dry surface to be working over, but if we get some blending here, it might actually be nice as well. Now, let's say I am going to pick up some of that underlying color. Hey, look, we'll deal with it. But one way is to continually reload the brush. So we have to continue to reload. Oh, you can really see the effects of the double espresso. If you look closely, you'll see that nice handshake there. So I'm going to go between strokes here. I'm going to just continue to reload that brush. I'm not going to expect my brush to do too much work before picking up some more paint. Now, the type of stroke that I'm applying here as well, when it comes to painting reflections, and we had a great question before, which was about the direction of that reflection and direction of shadows. When it comes to painting that topography, I will make strokes that are on diagonals and in different directions in accordance with perspective, linear perspective. However, with reflections, generally, in this sort of middle region of the water, it's either going to be vertical or horizontal. That will allow my water to lay down flat. So I'm noticing that with the liquid original, that there's actually not too much being picked up here. So we're doing okay. I'm not actually picking up much of that underlying pigment. There's a little bit of softening around some of the edges, but for the most part, I'm pleased to say it's working out.
There's a comment that says the state of Minnesota has banned cadmiums and lead white.
Okay. So New Zealand has also banned lead white, but that just means that I can't go to an art retailer and buy it. But so far, so good on getting it shipped into me directly for my personal use. So I still think, yeah, some manufacturers, the brand that I deal with, will ship to you directly, and so that might be a way to get around that. It's annoying. I mean, there's so many things out there that can kill you, but why they're targeting that, I'm not sure. Now, is it dangerous? Well, potentially. You don't want to get it on you. Like, you always want to have good studio practice. When you look at my brushes or my hands during a paint session, I don't get paint on me. So I'm a pretty clean painter. I never blend with my fingers, for instance. I see a lot of artists doing this. It drives me nuts, dude. It drives me. It's like, man, you're using cobalt there and cadmium. You're going to go and blend with your finger? Okay.
Yeah, well, I had a friend that did that, and he ended up with 200 tumors in his liver.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm sorry for your friend, but yeah, it's no joke. There's a lot of artists that have all sorts of things because of exposure, but with good studio practice, you could just nip that right in the bud and not have to worry about it.
I'm going to give you about an 8-minute warning, FYI.
Ah, okay. Okay, cool. So I'm just dragging through a little bit. If we zoom out, hopefully we're starting to look a little more watery, and I am going to get a wiggle on here, Mr. Rhoads. So it's been fun. My goodness, it's interesting doing this so early in the morning. Like, wake up and boom, get on. Not making excuses, but it is a pleasure hanging out with you here, sir.
Well, you have 8 minutes.
Awesome. Let's keep going. So down in this sort of zone, I'm just going to work some of that green in. And what I'm thinking about as well with these reflections is my edge quality.
Can you zoom in again, please?
Of course I can. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Let's go down to this. Is that a nice view right there? Let's start working on the edge of that reflection right there. I'm going to get out a new brush here. And now, one of the things I've found, one of the blues that I absolutely love is is phthalo blue. Absolutely gorgeous. And so I'm been using that plenty. It's got a nice transparent quality to it. Here we go. So a little bit of Kremnitz white, a little bit of phthalo blue. There's another color, 𝗂𝗏𝗄 I was mentioning in the breakdown of my palette before. A really nice greeny quality blue, but don't use too much of that because it's very opaque. So I'm trying to balance out the opacity and transparency. Then I cut my blue with just a touch. I'm just describe the color to you here. I cut my blue with just a touch of quinacridone magenta. Again, just enough to give it a little bit of a purple vibe. Works really well with those colors. And now, in some of these areas, that edge quality, I want to sharpen up the edge of some of that reflection. And in this zone, I'm going to have something that's a little more opaque. Can you give me, Eric, a 3-minute warning, and I'll show another technique, which is something else to give that watery vibe, which is our meniscus. I'll go ahead and apply that, and I'll show you the brush that I'm using for that too. So just like with the shapes of those rocks, as I travel down, I'm going to start opening these shapes. Now, I don't know about you, if it's just like how much coffee I've had or how high on life I am right now, but it's starting to me to look a little bit like water.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was totally fishing there, so thanks.
I tuned right into that because I didn't get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
I don't recommend it. Yeah, normally I'm a real early bird, but in the past couple of weeks, I haven't been.
You just moved.
Just moved, new studio, new gallery being built right now. So it's a lot of fun. So we're setting up shop in Wanaka here. And so as I come down, I'm just working over the top of that initial underpainting. And again, not expecting my brush to do too much work, but fragmenting that surface slightly. All it takes is a subtle shift in value, so slightly lighter than what I'm working over, and not painting any area out, but allowing some of that underlying color to come through. And you start creating a little bit of a rippling effect. I'm also careful that I don't go too much in one direction. I'm thinking about moving in another direction. So if I have an angle that's tilted down towards the right, I tilt down towards the left, working in the other way. That way we get a nice even rippling across that surface.
Do you have, do you try to do something where the water meets the rocks? Is there?
Yes, let's do that.
In there?
Yeah. So that's the meniscus. Yes, I do, and it's a beautiful technique, and it's actually a really good way to communicate the body of water, like as solid objects enter that water. Let's do that now. So we've got a rock right here, and you can overdo this, right? So you only want a little bit goes a long way. I love a synthetic round for this. This is a 2-0 pointed round. Pretty sharp brush here, but I absolutely love this for our water technique of that meniscus. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix up here, and this is the time that I might be inclined to use a little opacity. I'm going to cut it with just a touch of that reflection color. So I'll describe the colors to you, but I'm grabbing a bit of titanium white and a little bit of that blue that I was using in the reflection. And then over here, where that enters the water, just a little spot of light. Now, that's if we have direct light shining on it. But if you don't, then you want to come in with something a little bit grayer, whatever's going to be reflecting that ambient skylight from around your scene. And just a little bit of a lip.
Very subtle.
Just a little bit of a lip. Just gives it a little bit of a sharp kick. Now over here, with this rock entering the scene, I'm gonna have to steady my hand here, Eric. I'm feeling the effects of double espresso, but we'll get there. I might just have to use my finger here as I draw this line in.
When I went to China the last 3-4 weeks, I gave up coffee.
Oh no!
Because I'm a decaf guy and I couldn't get decaf anywhere, so I actually weaned myself completely off of coffee.
Oh wow! Well done. Well done. Are you going to pick it up again, or is that you now?
I'm trying tea. I'm sticking with tea for a while.
Good man. Good man. I tried giving up coffee and it lasted about 20 minutes.
Well, I had no choice. And so I'm using it to my advantage.
Good man. So there's just a little bit of subtle sharpness there with a line is all we really need to communicate where that surface of water is, where the solid object meets that body of water. I'll add a couple more just up here and the top of the painting. But gosh.
What do you think? Julia is asking, what do you think about 𝗵𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗪 whites, which is a titanium zinc mix?
I really do not like using zinc at all. Now I have, when I was really just stepping out into being a professional artist, I was really concerned with archival painting techniques. I do think you can go, too far down that road and really obsess over it. But I don't recommend using zinc at all because it's not archival.
And you have to be careful because a lot of titaniums have zinc mixed in and you don't realize.
They do. Yeah. So I don't use any zinc whatsoever in any of the pigments that I use. It's because it leads to delamination down the track and things like, cracking and surface crawling and all that sort of nasty stuff. It's so a lot of manufacturers have just completely dropped it from their line. And I think rightfully so. If you can get the lead, I would recommend using the lead.
Yeah. We're going to give you a 3-minute warning.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. Okay. So essentially you can see here as a rock will enter that water, and I've still got to add a little bit of detail to that rock. But as that rock enters the water, then I go ahead and just add a little spot of light. And again, just a little will do. A dab will do you. You don't need a whole bunch, but you can see how it just adds a little bit of a crispness to the edge of that body of water. And I think finally, what I'd like to add for you here is maybe just a little bit of light on that waterfall itself. I think that would be nice.
That would be.
Because at the moment, we don't have much of an idea of what's happening there with that waterfall. So let's get that on there. Now, in my hand while I'm painting, I always have a little folded up piece of paper towel. And that is just to continue to wipe off my brush. So I've just wiped that off. And I'm going to add to my brush just a touch of titanium white. Now, I have a saying, my students are absolutely sick of it. They're like, yeah. I keep saying this, though. Whenever we're trying to create a convincing sense of light in our painting, it makes good sense to hold back with your values or your tones, right? So I say, save your tonal best for last. And so whatever I have initially, their lightest values are always a muted series of grays. And so I don't go to the top of that tonal range until right at the very end of the painting. And I probably won't go to the top of the tonal range now, but for the purposes of this demo, I'll add just a few little marks here of a lighter gray. I've knocked it back with a bit of that blue that was already on my palette.
Oh, it really made that come alive.
Just a touch. Thank you, sir. But spoiler alert, if I'm going to have a sparkle there, it really has to be something that is quite bright. Now I'm going to use a little Gamsol, swish my brush around in that, get the paint off my brush. I don't use solvents in my paint while I'm painting, but I will sometimes just give the brush a quick wash. I think I want to get a little spot of light right there. So let's put a little pure titanium right there at the top of the waterfall. A little bit of sparkle. But there's still a lot of work to be done on this painting. I think this painting is probably going to get another 20 hours, to be honest. Does it need it? I don't know. But it's going to be fun. I guarantee that. And I'm going to, because my students always ask, hey, are you filming that? I'm definitely going to be recording this one. And just a couple of spots of light up here as that water turns over the corner. Hopefully will give us a look that we've got something moving, reflective, reflecting that direct sunlight shining on it from above.
Very careful, which I love. You're not, the temptation is to put too much of that white in there.
Well, I think it's easier to put it down than it is to take it back off, right?
Absolutely.
So it really is an exercise in just holding back, taking your time, considering your moves. But this, I will keep going with this, but just applying a little bit of that green there, cleaning up some of this reflection down here. I'm starting to get an indication that I can see through. Where I'm going to go from here is we have trees that are growing up above these rocks. They're going to be reflecting down to the surface here. So there's going to be a bit of a sharper edge between this sky blue and that reflection. And I also want to sharpen up the edge of this rock reflection right here. That sharpness of these reflecting objects here in the foreground will really help create a bit more of that illusion. But I think we've got time now, huh?
I think we're there. But I want to thank you, and I want to encourage everybody to look into Andrew's online training. It's excellent from what I understand. I have not actually physically experienced it. I wish I had time. And Andrew is going to be live in person, a rarity, at the Plein Air Convention, teaching on stage, but also a pre-convention workshop on May 14th. And so you've got to be registered for the Plein Air Convention to get it. Just go to pleinairconvention.com/Tischler, and then you can get signed up for both. And we are looking forward to that. We're going to spend a lot of time with Andrew, and I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun.
Me too. Thanks, Eric. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. It's been fun.
Thank you. And we'll talk soon. All right, guys. Well, I want to remind you guys we have a free gift for you. If you go to pleinairmagazine.com/ebook to get the 201 essential plein air tips. We'd love to give that to you. Also want to encourage you to check out Gouache Live. That's coming up in August, gouachelive.com. And please remember to check out Fall Color Week, because Fall Color Week is going to be a lot of fun. fallcolorweek.com. And then, of course, Art Biz Mastery coming up in November. I'm Eric Rhoads, the publisher of Plein Air Magazine, Fine Art Connoisseur, and some other stuff. And we're here every weekday. We want to encourage you. We believe that anybody can become an artist. If you're telling yourself, I don't have the talent, I can't draw a stick figure, that doesn't matter. That's where I started. And that's where a lot of us started. If you watch just five of any of these programs, you're going to get the confidence you need to realize you can do this. So pick some of them. We've been on for 5 years. We've served over 18 million people, and we love being here for you guys. And the goal is to get everybody realizing they can paint so that you get the joy of painting. It's a lot of fun. And so please tune in again if you're new, and you can subscribe to this program on YouTube. Just go look up Art School Live on YouTube. All right, guys, thank you. And thank you again to Andrew Tischler. And we will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.